What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me for another video. It's your host, Crypto Glenn. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me and I appreciate it. What are we talking about today? The Metaverse. While things in the cryptocurrency space are always moving very, very fast, a week is like a month and a month is like 3 years in cryptos. While over the past couple of weeks to handful of months, we've been talking about NFTs, and well, some of us like myself are still very bullish and huge fans of NFTs. It seems like the overall market has shifted away from NFTs, or at least the attention that they're giving it, and now we've moved on to the Metaverse. So what is the Metaverse? The Metaverse, well, before we begin, I should probably start by saying that the Metaverse isn't anything new. The Metaverse has actually been in existence spanning all the way back to 2003, which games of the likes of Second Life, and even if you go to 2008, PlayStation Home even stepped on the scene to the Metaverse, having their very own open world, if you will, that was on the PlayStation 3. Since then, it's actually shut down PlayStation Home. They tried to bring it back, and that current state is in a little bit of limbo. But the Metaverse has always been this thing that's been very, very alluring. And even if you've seen Ready Player One, this ultimate escapism world that allows people to lose themselves in their day-to-day life, put on an avatar, jump into the internet, and live a secondary life with their family, their friends, no matter where they're at in the world. In the virtual world, they all get to be together, and that's really what the Metaverse encapsulates today. However, the problem that has always plagued the Metaverse is, what do you do after the allure of it being brand new wears off? It happened in Second Life, it happened in PlayStation Home, and I don't doubt that it won't happen to this current iteration of the Metaverse that some developers are trying to bring forward. So when we talk about the Metaverse, we need to be looking at who are the major players today. Well, there's a handful, but the main ones that stand out are Sandbox, they are Decentraland, and really for the most part, up until but a few days ago, those were the really two biggest major players in the Metaverse space. Well, that was until Facebook came out and made the announcement that they made, saying that they themselves were renaming their parent company to Meta, and they were actually throwing their hat in the ring for the Metaverse. Of course, this threw the markets in a complete blaze. Everybody started going out buying Metaverse coins. This video, we're going to focus on why that may not have been such a hot idea. And if you are going to be buying projects that represent the Metaverse, which one should you really be buying? And is now a good time to jump in and start placing your bids? Let's find out. So for the sake of this video, for the scope really, we're going to be looking at three main aspects of these projects. The first of which is we're going to take a look at the community. We want to make sure that the community for each one of these metaverses is strong, because if this metaverse doesn't have a strong sense of community or users, then technically this metaverse doesn't actually have a project. You need people to make these things work. In addition to that, we're going to be taking a look at the aesthetics. If a project isn't aesthetically pleasing, it's going to give little incentive for the people who are in the metaverse to want to spend elongated periods of time there. In addition to that, we're going to be taking a look at, do any one of these metaverses, whether it be Horizon, whether it be Sandbox, whether it be Decentraland, do any of them have any specific unique partners that can help each one of these projects fight off what always happens to metaverse projects, and that's once the initial allure wears off, it gets boring, and then users don't want to spend any more time in the metaverse. So are there any partners that these metaverses are working with that could potentially help them combat that? So let's go ahead and take a look. So starting off with the smaller project of the three, I believe this is going to be Decentraland. Decentraland looks like at its absolute zenith had around 30,000 users per month. Now, when we start talking about the Metaverse, I don't know if those numbers are big enough to actually get a lot of people talking about all the cool things that they could be doing inside the Metaverse. To me, that seems like a very, a beta number. Second was Sandbox. Sandbox had at least 1 million users per month. It's not bad. I mean, it's better than Decentraland, but we're looking for something here that has scale, something that's really going to get the people excited. And that's why when we start looking at the majority of users that are probably going to be getting into the Metaverse, I'm very, I guess you could say, bullish about Facebook winning that war, because Facebook has a user base well into the billions. And on average, I believe Facebook's users are around 2.9 billion users per month. I mean, that's well over, 10 times Sandbox, well over 100 times Decentraland. And you got to imagine that wherever the people are, that's where your influence are. That's where your celebrities are going to go. That's where the ad dollars are going to go. And so with Facebook's whole entire business model, everything that they're going to do, that they do today moving forward, they're going to be predominantly be trying to generate revenue for shareholders. And so I think they actually have somewhat of a decent advantage over the other two competitors. I mean, I just don't think the other two in terms of numbers of monthly user base, and I get it, it's early now, so it's not to say that where they're at now is going to be where they're at in the future, but we have to imagine that all three of these metaverses are going to further build out their community. So as it stands right now, Facebook has the lead in terms of potential monthly users for their metaverse. Next, I think it's pretty important that we take a look at the aesthetics. If it's anything that we've learned from the crypto market and dealing with NFTs over the last 3 or 4 months, is that the aesthetics of a project, they matter. They matter because the aesthetics are the visual representation of everything that's gone into that project. Now, I understand to a certain degree aesthetics are subjective and people are going to have their biasness towards the way a project looks. However, we live in a day and age where everything is for the most part going high resolution, and I like to think that the metaverse, it's important for them to follow suit simply because we're still on the precipice of ERC 1155 tokens being generated, and those kind of designers may want to work in a medium where not only does the project look great, but the format in which it's displayed to everybody in the metaverse is optimized to the highest level. I mean, you really want to be able to go through and show shadows, textiles, patterns, texture, things of that nature. And I'm not entirely convinced you could get that representation out of something that looks like the Sandbox or even Decentraland, where you've got to wait for polygons to load half the time where you're running around in the metaverse. So that's just my opinion. The other thing that I think is super important to mention is the actual overall look of the projects themselves. I think when you start taking a look at who the primary demographic is for users in cryptocurrency now, it's ages 25 to 39 roughly. And when you look at certain art styles of metaverses right now, such as Sandbox, the way that one looks, it looks like they're catering towards a much younger audience. It looks like Roblox. It looks like, a Lego, figures in a Lego world. And I don't know if that's something that the older demographic wants to be associated with. Decentraland is one step above that. However, it still does look a bit juvenile in its taste. And so I'm going to go ahead and give the advantage again to Facebook, because even though their stuff does look a little bit like the Nintendo Wii characters, it's the most mature visual representation that we have of all the main metaverses to date. So I think when we talk about the people who are going to be the metaverse enthusiasts, they're going to want to see a lot of their collectibles, a lot of their rareables. They're going to want to see a lot of the stuff that they are spending real money on represented in the absolute highest quality. Because let's be honest, after it gets to a certain point, it's going to be about, showing off. It's going to be about who's got what, who's got the latest collectible, who's got, the most rarest collectible, who's got the hottest exclusive. And I just think that kind of behavior really requires that the things that we are putting on display in the metaverse actually be shown in the absolute highest quality. Like, it just has to. No one wants to see a 3D Lego representation of, some LeBrons or some Jordans. I mean, we want to be able to see these things in the absolute highest quality. Now, could there possibly be a tier system where maybe, the metaverse gets too expensive for some people, so they get priced out to a second tier metaverse? Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't, we've seen things like that happen in the crypto space before. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibilities for that to happen into the metaverse. The other thing we look at is when it comes to events, things that are going to be used to keep our interest in the metaverse. Again, I think this is kind of a two-sided piece of the puzzle. The first of which is whoever has the larger body of people who are participating in their metaverse, they're going to be the ones who attract the influencers, who attract the celebrities, who attract, the people who are cool, the people that everybody wants to be around. And I think ultimately, again, that could go to Facebook. Facebook's going to have the largest amount of people on their platform. And especially if you couple that with things to do while they're on Facebook's metaverse platform, everybody's going to want to be there. And when we look at what types of events could we possibly see in the metaverse, I think it's not outside the realm of possibility to see things like sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, maybe even screening of TV shows or programs that are platform specific. And just kind of thinking out loud here, I don't know that, Decentraland or Sandbox has anything that's lined up to take advantage of something like that. Granted, it's early, but you got to be real. Like if I'm going to a concert inside the metaverse, I actually want it to look like how it would look if I'm in person. If I'm going to a sporting event inside the metaverse, I would want it to look like how it looks in person. And the best company that's in position to do that now is Facebook. In 2018, they signed a deal with the NBA and the NFL, the NBA in particular, to have very unique angles when it comes to NBA games that you couldn't get anywhere else. And I wouldn't be surprised if that same agreement is structured with the NFL, where now you can view real live NFL games in angles that you can't see anywhere else. You can't get it on cable TV, and you definitely can't get it actually attending in person. So granted, Sandbox has the exclusive deal with Snoop Dogg where you can attend concerts, but so far I've seen 2 instances where concerts were had inside the metaverse on Sandbox, and me just being 100% objective, it didn't look all that good. Here's one that we're seeing, an event, NFT in NYC, was put on by the Gutter Cats. And, I think they're kind of capped by the technology, but this isn't something that I would want to spend a whole lot of time in. Now, if you had this where it was an actual concert and I'm like in front row and that's just the image that I'm seeing, and I can turn around and I can see everybody else who's in the metaverse participating along, sure, that's something that I would, want to take part in. But I want it to look as real as possible. That's just me. Other people, they may want other things, but that's just me. As far as timing goes, should you be buying now? I personally would wait. I think buying metaverse coins right now is a little bit of buying a premium. And I think if you're buying at the top, ultimately you're going to become exit liquidity for somebody. I think what's more important is if we're at a little bit of a premium here, you wait for the market to retrace a certain amount and then you start to make your investments into the metaverse. I think buying now, large proportional wise, is probably a bad idea. But, it's not financial advice. I can't tell you guys what to do with your money, but that's just what I would do. That's all I have for this video right now. If you guys want to comment in the comment section below, definitely do so. What are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to be crowned champion of the metaverse? Let me know below. If you have not subscribed to the channel, definitely do so. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.